work
get
this
us
out.
going here. Okay, so we're going to have, this evening, we're going to have a workshop here on different building permit fees and other fees that relate to the planning department. These fees have not been updated since 1997. And so, it's been a while.
Lots
And
changed
as you can
since
see, there's several pages. So there's a lot of fees, so it takes a little while, and then there's some things that we've added that we might not have had back in 97, different things. So the first thing that probably the one that's kind of the most cumbersome, that has now a methodology that I think we would like to adopt. We got Pat here and Blaine here to talk about the planning, or the building fees. So I don't know, Pat went through and was kind of the beginning of, initiator of this kind of code for, I guess the nice thing, I'll just say that I'll be quiet and let Pat talk, is this methodology is kind of a way that it takes in consideration what the market values are, rates and different things, so we'd be more current and on top of things. If there was a downturn, it would reflect accordingly. If there's an upturn, it would reflect. So, Pat, you want to talk about this methodology a little bit?
So, I don't know if Blaine gave you anything that says BBB. So what this is so ICC is the International Code Council. And they write all the model code that is adopted by the state of Indiana. So those are the code books we use. And years ago, they developed this, and it's called BVD, which is the building valuation data, which they publish twice a year in August and February. Now, what it's designed to do is, instead of asking people how much the value of their construction is, and we get wild, even right now, we don't use the data other than for bookkeeping, we get wild differences on how much, what they say the value of construction is. This is a national average based on research, and it's adopted by many of the jurisdictions. So the thing about this process is it can be a little bit confusing to explain, but it can all be automated. We can make a calculator that can let you calculate what your fees will be. And it's based on, generally on the commercial side, it's based on construction type and use and occupancy, which is probably going to be a little overwhelming to you, but if you look on the handout I gave you on the third page there, to open it up, there's kind of just a little chart that shows, when we talk about use and occupancy and construction type, those are the things we look at to determine. And every building's different. They fall into those categories. They fall into one of the use and occupancies and then one of the construction types. And that's the argument that you use on that chart to determine the average price of square foot for construction nationally. Now, the thing is, we've got a terrible history here of coming back and saying we need to raise prices for building permits. And, for example, the YMCA, I took that because it's not really anybody paid for that. That was the city paid for, we didn't pay for the permit because it was our work. But, for example, that was 61,000 square foot, and it was the permit for building alone, for building construction, the permit cost was $3,260. That was 72 inspections that I did on that project, 72. And if you divide it just straight out, that's $45 an inspection, but that doesn't cover any of the fees, like plan review, meeting with tech review, which has all the city officials in, every department's in there, fire, utilities, city engineer, all that. And we met several times, so none of that's in there. No zoning fees are in there, and no engineering fees. Essentially, we've been subsidizing construction for a long time here. This, the city budget, because we don't come anywhere near covering the cost of permitting and, vetting and looking at all the construction costs.
So, one of the things, sorry, Aaron.
Yeah.
One of the things we were trying to do is show what we currently charge, that's up on our screen, but also what Putnam County would have charged for the same permit. So you have 3,300 and some change versus 13,000 in comparison. That's current.
And that's what the county would charge
If they were.
if they were doing it?
Yep.
Okay.
Well,
And the problem is, I've met, in the 10 years I've been here, I've met with Bill Dory several times, and we hashed this out, talking about what the permit cost should be, but, and I met with the mayor a few times too, but, the problem is it's not popular to go back and raise permit fees. The beauty of utilizing this BBD process is that twice a year, you adjust permit fees, so it's slow, incremental adjustments. You don't have to come back to the council to get approval. It's basically a self-adjusting, self-writing process. It always maintains the actual, what you're trying to cover in permit fees. So, my recommendation is at least look at that on the commercial side. I think Wayne's going to give you some options on the residential side. This can be done on the residential side too. But I would really encourage the council to look at adopting this BBB process, just because, once we get through it and we adjust, after that, there'll be minor adjustments, whatever the economy does, the cost of construction does, and it's every 6 months, and it'll be seamless.
With the chart you just had on there, what's the difference in the bottom line between 2024 and 2025? Have you got that in your head somewhere?
Of how much we took.
At the bottom line, each one of those. Just as they're, well, I said 24, 97.
I was going to say 97, yeah. How much would have you
What's
charged?
what's the total increase if those two lines straight down at the bottom?
So, you mean what revenue has the building?
Yes,
department
yes,
in
yes.
those years? I don't have that in my head.
Okay,
But I can get that.
that's all right.
We
Well,
have that.
Oh, how much we bring in every year? Not even $30,000 to the building, less than that, it depends on the year. But when we do the budget, we do kind of the average of what it's been over the years, and we never budget for much more than $30,000.
Question. How do our fees compare to neighboring cities, Terre Haute, Crawfordsville?
Look at the bottom of your packet.
they're in the back.
Bottom of your packet.
There's a spreadsheet on
Okay.
And Bill.
I withdraw the question.
So,
Too far.
I will tell you that when we went through and worked on this formula, Blaine, at the beginning, does it go through and talk about how we come up with the formula? Should we go through that? How the formula works and we come up with the price? We probably need to jump to that next, the fee multiplier. So, okay, so what we did, if you see there, the number that we plugged in there for the building department budget was, we came up with $213,000. What that consists of is, if we take our building inspector with benefits, FICA, perf, and all that, and his salary, he comes up to be about $98,149.06, okay? And then in that, we have a couple other things that are important players. We have a part-time person that works on permitting. We have the city engineer, and I will tell you that the new engineering rate for the city engineer has gone from $105 to $195 just this year.
I've got a thought about that.
Huh?
I say, I have a thought about that.
Well, I do too, but that's another meeting. So anyways, we've got that. The engineer has to come to all the tech review and all of that, and a lot of times gets contacted by city staff to talk about different issues. So we put figures in for that. For our part-time permitting person that works part-time for that. And then our planner also does a lot of work when it comes down to the building items, so some of his hours. So came up with the figure of $213,231.72, is that correct? So, now, then the next question on that is, how much of that expense does the city want to capture based on the total annual construction value here in the city of Greencastle? So,
The second page, I think.
it's the second page if you can't see it online. Yes, it is the second page at the very tippy top.
So one important thing about the spreadsheet on the screen is that this is a working formula, so the percentage funded by permit revenue, that number can change. Right now, it's set at 100, and I'll show you an example where I can change that.
So right now, we would like to recover 100% of that. Now, that's what we might want to do, but of course, council, you have the authority to say how much of that we would like to capture. And the total annual construction amount value is how much value we did in permitting over the,
So that the total annual construction value is based on data captured during the permit process where contractors will identify the cost of the project and maybe Pat could elaborate a little bit further on that.
is it for Greencastle area? Is that, or is that Indiana-wide? Greencastle, that's what I thought,
So last year, we had about $16.5 million.
in construction.
Yeah, and you know, when we have a big project, it can spike, you know, sometimes the fall will do a huge project. That 1 year kind of throws us off.
Yeah, or you get a Y built.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I mean,
And then some years we don't have that much.
yeah, I mean, we've had as much as $50 million a year.
Right.
construction. So it just depends on the project. And the YMCA, I think, was a 24 permit, so it wasn't counted.
It wasn't in there, right.
Right, it wasn't in that
That
calculation.
was issued on the, actually, the first and second inspection was 3/3/20, so this is 23.
Right.
So one thing you'll see on the two green lines, on the far end is the actual permit fee that's calculated. So I'm going to change the percentage funded by permit revenue number, and you'll see those numbers change on the end.
Can you zoom in on those?
Okay, so yeah, those numbers change. So is that what you're saying the permit fee would be for an 8,000 square foot? Commercial building would be 13,000?
Multifamily, yes.
Blaine, can you zoom in, please?
It should be similar to the project we're getting ready to do for the fall.
Right. If we were gonna capture 75% of the.
Of our
It was
expenses here in the
18,000 when it
budget.
was 100%.
Before, yeah.
Yeah.
And then on a residential house, 288? What's 288? It went away. The numerical value, the gross area numerical value, 288, that can't be square feet.
It should be,
Yeah, it's bigger. Yeah, 288, that's barely a room.
minimum standard, so yeah, we can adjust that.
That would be for a residential addition.
Oh, residential
addition.
addition, okay.
288.
Okay, somebody's building a room on. Okay. They would pay 680 if we wanted to get 100%, and 510 if we wanted to get 75%.
So a lot of our building inspector, much of it has been supported by property tax
Yep.
and local income tax. And we all know what's happening with that. We don't elaborate on that. So that's why we're really trying to get ahead of the game and have something that kind of keeps going, to where we would not, if we failed to do anything for as long as we have, we would still be in the ballpark. So with this type of methodology, rather than just making up.
And given the fact it's been almost 30 years since we've had increases, and, you know, you said, you know, it's not popular to adjust these fees, but it's a heck of a lot not popular to look at the taxpayers and tell them
to
you're subsidizing this department. We're subsidizing all departments, but we could be coming closer to subsidizing this department with building fees.
So Pat, you know, maybe can give examples on how many times he goes out for each permit type, but even smaller projects, he's going out there at least, you know, 2-3 times.
Probably single family home, 5 to 7. But the problem with the commercial construction is, we just don't know how many times they're going to need to be inspected, because a lot of times they do, instead of sequential, they do concurrent construction, where they'll be doing something on the first floor, and they'll be starting something on the second. You know, they'll be working under themselves or from top down, and, you know, I may, you know, like the res hall at the Ballville, oh my gosh, I hate to guess how many inspections that took. It was literally hundreds. And there's no way to forecast how they're gonna request inspections. And, you know, we hate to say, oh, you gotta do the whole building or the whole floor before we come out and do an inspection to keep it moving. That's just not pro construction. I don't think that's our philosophy.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an unknown, and if you go by the average value of construction, I think that, you know, it's a methodology. It's a little complicated when you look at it, but it's been proven, used. A lot of big cities use this as a method, and some small cities too. Yeah.
If I'm doing a room addition today with the old fees, let's say I'm doing the 288 square feet, how much of a fee would I pay, and then what you're proposing, how much would it change?
So there's a square footage thing in there, but like
Just ballpark.
If you're doing a remodel, it's $90. For $100, you can pretty much do whatever you want to a house. I mean,
Okay.
yeah,
That's the old one or the new one?
that's the current one,
Okay, and then you're proposing the new one would be,
based on the size.
yeah.
And then the BVD, which would be,
So right now, it's not based on the size.
so I think the first 100 feet, or first 1,000 feet is in there, and then there's a multiplier, like 5 cents a square foot after that,
Okay.
something like that.
I'm trying to get a sense, are fees going up 10%, or are they going up 100% for residential? That's what I'm trying to wrap my head around, because it's a lot of numbers you threw at us, and we haven't even had a
Some of
chance
them
to
are
look
going to go up
at it.
150%.
In this first column that I have up on the screen now, for a single-family addition, let's just say an addition, the formula used to tack on top of the base fee would be 1,000 times 5 cents.
Translated as what?
I can't put my hand
You
on
get the
that.
base fee, which whatever that is in dollars, plus 5 cents an additional square foot.
Yeah.
That's the cost
So,
of a permit.
you know, if they add
$50.
1,000 square feet, yeah, you're at 500, so.
Not now.
No, you're not now, you're not.
I haven't had a $500 house permit ever, I don't think.
No,
Yeah, never.
Yeah.
$50 on a nickel for 1,000 square foot, right?
Right.
$50.
Yeah, $50 for a 1,000 square foot addition.
That doesn't even, let's see, I think I figured,
$90,
he is $45, 40, benefits and everything, it's 40-some dollars an hour. He's not even paying for one inspection going out to do it on the current way we do it. And you might go out there 6, 7 times.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I get paid, it doesn't matter to me, it's really, it's really the fact that we're subsidizing, that taxpayers are subsidizing construction. You know, it's just,
Well, we're subsidizing the end user of the construction.
Yes.
Because the contractor got paid.
yeah, I
It's a
mean, it's
pass-through.
passed through to the contractor, they, it doesn't matter to them, it's just like a brick or whatever, that
Right.
pass it through.
So if I take the permit fee multiplier that you've calculated based on the 213,000 cost and 16.5 roughly last year's permits, and take the multiplier and multiply it times a $300,000 house, you're going to be at $3,886 just for the permit and no.
That's if we use the
Subsequent
DED
inspections.
method, I think Wayne has a couple different options, he's, you know, looking at, on the residential side, maybe a flat fee, you know, I mean, it's,
I mean, that's 1% of a $300,000 house.
yeah, I mean,
But when you're building a house, as you know, every percent adds up. And pretty soon, you end up with a diminishing return. So I would just say, we need to address this, but we also need to be a little careful. Because we could end up shooting ourselves. Now, when it comes to things like what's happening over on campus, you know, there you need to, and of course, you got that, because we've got all these different classifications of construction type. So,
there's a lot of ways to deal with that. You can change the multiplier for the residential, or you could do flat fees. Problem is, they never really get adjusted. So, like I said, I personally get paid whether we keep it the way it is or not. I mean, I don't really, I'm not pushing for it. I'm just saying the BVD process is automatic and self-correcting over time, and that's why I'm a proponent for that. Now, what the multiplier is, I think that's city council.
Right, that's-
Discussing. Maybe residential has a different multiplier.
well.
Then commercial.
If we're
Yeah,
trying to
commercial.
encourage residential, it
Yeah.
probably should.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I'd be more inclined to have a lower multiplier on residential.
Or a flat fee so you can budget and plan. You know, and maybe a flat fee and we address it again in 3 years. You know, because obviously we didn't. But at least a flat fee, you know, okay, my permit's going to cost me X amount of dollars.
Well, the
Rather than
reality
every
is-
time I come in, my flat fee goes up, what's going on, you know?
When you're building a house.
I mean, not my flat fee,
You,
my
the
fee.
homeowner, really don't know
What the building permits fees are.
the contractor is going out and assembling all of those costs and all those fees, and then comes in, plops it down on your kitchen table and says, you know, here's kind of what you're going to do. So, you know, to us, the homeowner, you know, it's just all built into the fee structure. And every little increment that gets tacked on to every little item of a construction project, you know, now that $300,000 project you thought you were going to get might be $360 or something, and then that throws a certain segment of the market out. So, and that's what you have to watch, especially in a market like ours, which has always been pretty price sensitive. But you also have to look at how people get financed. And that's why you see a lot of houses at $299 or $399 or something like that. You're not going to search over that if you're a reasonable realtor. You know, you're going to stay within the bounds of what your client's telling you they can spend and how they can get financed. So I'm all for adjustment, and I like the idea of kind of an automatic adjustment so nobody has to really think a lot about it. But it's what those initial inputs are going to be.
That's why we're having a workshop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we're having a workshop.
I'd
be
really
worried
like
if
to
we-
see.
If we said we'd come back in 3 years, because or 5 years or whatever, because it's been 30, close to it. So, you know, we'd have to stay on top of it, and those things get away from you. So I think, you know, having automatic multiplier type thing, but
gonna-
tame it down a little bit on the residential side.
It's going to be easier to take the step now than 5 years from now.
Right, yeah, because then you're raising it a whole bunch,
Yep.
kind of like water rates.
I mean, we started working on this at the beginning of '24, and we have
Here we are,
discussed.
beginning of '26.
Well, yeah, because internally, we have had these exact same questions about, you know, what is too much, what's not enough, how do we, but honestly, the reason we're moving it forward is because we have this thing coming in '28, where we are losing a whole lot of money.
Yep.
And, you know, it's like, we're hoping construction doesn't slow down, we're hoping this, we want to be able to still do our streets, we still want to have a planning and zoning and an engineer department and all these to do all this stuff, but we're not going to be able to do it on the backs of the taxpayers. So, honestly, we have sat for several hours at a time and had these very same discussions. And
What-
finally, we said, we've got to do something.
You have in here other information from Danville and Crawfordsville. How do we rate with those if you can do that?
Yeah, so I have we are much lower.
Yeah, we're like,
I figured.
yeah, we're really
Yeah,
low.
the great thing would be a side-by-side.
Yeah. He's got it, right? Another one of these that's under building is, he's looking for that, the pool permit. Like, it's $30 now. He goes out 5, 6, 7 times for pools. I mean, I know, we've put it in at, was it 200, and I thought 250, or 200 and 150. Well, you know, pool's kind of one of those things that if you can put in a pool, you can pay the permit. And I can say that because I own a pool.
Yeah.
You know, some of these are you know, a new in-ground pool is $100,000. You should be able to pay the $200 permit because, you know, he's at least got to go out there 2 or 3 times. And an above-ground pool, you know, you're looking at an investment of $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000. You know, you can pay the 150. So, and honestly, we've talked about this internally, is someday if we ever wanted to go with a sprinkle or a rate that you got a discount, that you didn't pay sewage on all that pool water, the only way that we would grant that would be that you had to have a pool permit, because we do have people that do pools without pool permits. And trust me, you would have a lot of savings. It would be worth your time to come in and pay the 200, because my sewer bill is more than that, and it would be worth getting my permit to be able to do that. So just a thought down the road, but that's one of them. It's $30 now, and that it needs to really go up.
So one of the more like bread and butter permits that people would typically think of is just a house. A single-family base fee for us is $120, whereas the county, $400 on the base fee. So it's just the base fee, but that's quite a difference alone. That's Putnam County.
What's Danville's?
Yeah.
Oh, you're looking for that?
So,
Single-family, go back up, or down. Single-family residential is 285? I think it's 285, isn't it?
Danville is single-family dwellings, 300 plus 10 cents a square foot.
And then they've got,
Two-family dwellings, 400 plus 10 cents a square foot.
And Hendricks County, let's see, that's
the
285.
base is
Hendricks.
285, and then, is there a per square foot adder onto that, or is that?
Hendricks County is really complex the way they lay it all out. I think theirs is actually a step too far. Danville's a little more reasonable.
And of course, there's not any construction over in Hendricks County either. Ideally, fees cover our costs.
In a perfect world.
But if you're
Perfect.
talking $216,000 now, and that includes a lot of stuff, I mean, but a lot of stuff goes into Jeff's, the engineer's time, and which is, he doesn't get paid necessarily unless he bills, so start having him bill less. But
I mean, we could do it to where, we wouldn't have to put planner time in it, we wouldn't have to put engineer time. There might be other ways we could charge for that. If we just put in Pat and Cindy's time, that would lower it. The permits would go down if we asked to, get 100%.
I think we should get some of their time.
Yeah.
Well, I agree, but I'm just saying, that would be a way if we wanted to just make sure that we got Pat's time, the true building inspector time on and there might be other ways we bill for it in other ways. I mean, I think, if I didn't think that they should be in there, I would have never put them in there, but if we need to make sure that we at least recover the building inspector and his support on that, I mean, honestly, I think there's not going to be too far down in the future that we're going to be going, we need to add some additional time and have a second helper for him, and if we get everything going that's coming down the pike.
Yeah, I think we need to recover more than just Pat's salary.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Maybe for residential, you'd say, well, we can take the engineer out, if we're trying to figure out.
Well, you'd be surprised how many times we gotta have the engineer look
Do we?
at
Okay.
storm sewer or something like
Yeah,
that.
and so the way I have it kind of laid out on the planning side is the engineering fees can really just kick in specific situations where you have major subdivisions. If it's larger than an acre, we don't have a lot of those anyway. Or minor subdivisions at 1 hour. So that way, it's already calculated in, but it's not overly burdensome on typical small residential projects. It's not going to really kick in. So those can be independent of each other. It just really depends on what everyone thinks.
Somebody's
is
doing a
most
room
appropriate.
addition wouldn't have to pay that.
No.
Yeah.
Right, but there has been times we've had to get Jeff involved because we have extra storm sewer, it's gonna cause a problem,
Or need to subdivide a piece of property or.
Yeah.
So your collection of head discussions, you don't have a recommendation for us?
Well, my recommendation would be to adopt the BVD. Maybe it makes more sense to have a flat fee for residential. I don't necessarily think it needs to be that way if the percentage, well, basically, if the multiplier is appropriate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right now,
I'm
do we have flat fees for everything, or are we doing multipliers?
So,
and things
we
like
have a
that?
flat base fee, but then we have the...
Okay, so there is a formula, so people, you plug it in, and that's how they'll know how much they owe. So there won't be a lot of legwork once someone wants to pay their bill to figure out how much it is.
No, it'll get calculated in the program.
So, yeah, the way we do it now, if somebody calls and wants us to figure it, we can, but, the other thing we need to talk about is automation. So we've got an automated system. During COVID, it let us miss 0 inspections, and we kept our program open, but, there's a cost to automation, but we can, the process now is if somebody calls, we can give them the cost, the permit, but the way it works is you submit your plan, you get reviewed, and then once it's all reviewed by whoever has to review it, then you receive an invoice, so it's all automated.
Good, okay.
So if somebody says, well, I'm going to add a 500 square foot addition, well, when you get the plans and it's 542 square feet, then you plug that in and it's going to be a little bit more. Or if it's 488, it's going to be a little bit less. That's maybe oversimplifying.
So there's no
it.
man hours to figure this out. You just plug it in and you're good to go, right?
It's basically right off the plan, square footage is what we utilize for everything.
So right now, our base fee for single-family residential is $120, right? And the county's is $400.
And I believe an attached deck at the county is more than our base fee for a whole house,
For a deck.
for a deck.
It's not enclosed, it's not heated or cooled. Or
Right.
Oh, we got to do something, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice if possible
Yeah, 180.
stay competitive with the county rate and neighboring rates while making up as much as we can. I mean, I think it'd be a competitive advantage to say, why build X, Y, Z in the county when you can build it in the city for a little cheaper? But without playing with the actual formula, I don't know what that number gets us to or what percentage that would make us up. But I'd hate to be significantly more than the county or our surrounding neighbors.
Well, on the commercial and industrial, there's so little of it that happens in the county. I don't think that would be a good comp. But, and of course, you know, a 2,000 square foot office on one level is not going to be terribly burdensome in terms of inspecting. You know, a 24,000 square foot multi-level, multi-use commercial property is a whole different story. I appraise them all the time, so I mean, you know, bigger doesn't necessarily create complications, but complex situations do. And they usually, the bigger they get, the more complex they get. So, you know, then when you're talking a dormitory or something like that, terribly complex. So that's where, in my mind, the focus should be on, you know, getting to, you know, more of a national factor. Because let's face it, you know, when you're building a dormitory on any campus, there may be a local contractor involved, like a HVAC outfit like Huber, but the rest of them are, you know, regional or national contractors. So
You spent a lot of time over at DePaul during that dorm, didn't you?
And so can we set the multipliers specific to the type of complexities that Councilor Messon's?
Well, that's kind of the beauty of the BVD. So this chart that we have is the publication from the International Code Council. So you have International Building Code, you have so each cell,
Same thing.
each cell shows the cost per square feet.
So the two arguments are to the left and the top. So A1 assembly, that's the most complex assembly space because it has so many people in it, exits, fire separation, things like that. And then the type of construction across the top. So it's, you know, by basing it off the square foot cost, you're kind of adjusting the cost of the complexity through that process. The real issue is what's our multiplier? How much are we trying to finance through permitting to pay for expense? And I mean, you can, like I said, you can do, you know, we could do a different multiplier for residential. It's not a problem. In fact, you know, if there was something else that council wanted to do with the multiplier, we probably could. I mean, it would be nice if we just had commercial and residential multipliers, but it's possible. I mean,
do you have broken down the property types and the values?
that we've done inspections on.
Well, like, okay, so in other words, you got $2 million worth of new residential construction, $8 million worth of industrial construction, and $10 million worth of multifamily construction. Do you have those broken down so we can look and kind of see? Then we can go to the replacement.
Well, I can
cost.
tell you, we didn't have much new construction, right? Last year?
Yeah, I mean, we did a lot of remodels.
A lot of
Well,
remodels.
I'm looking at that as just kind of like the baseline.
Yeah.
I mean, we have data.
Yeah.
We can pull it.
Because if we could go into that and say, okay, you know, we had 1 million square feet of new industrial construction, you know, big box warehouse. You know, then we could kind of tailor the multiplier to that specific property type.
Well, that's what this does, right?
Kind of, yeah. So like.
Well, we just got
If you want an
this.
actual, based on history, like last year, is what you're asking.
Well,
To create a model, right, of,
yeah, essentially to model it, yeah, because we know that nothing's linear. And so, but if we had kind of a rough idea, a baseline, you know, because you go out and you build a 1 million or 400,000 square foot distribution center, logistics center, which you've got tons of in Plainfield, and you're getting them everywhere else, you know, it's $212 a square foot, and you figure out, you know, it doesn't take very many of those to add up. We don't get any of those to speak of. But that's all I'm trying to, because the idea of the category classifications of construction types, quality, I deal with that all the time. And so, you know, that's understandable to me. That's understandable to me, you know, getting your overall multiplier, but you can't apply that to every property type, because then you end up kind of skewing what you want to encourage and what you may not.
But isn't that what that's doing? It's taking a look on the classification type, and it's looking at what it is and how more difficult it is for inspections, right? When you, on the table here.
Yeah, so, you know, like, construction type, like an A occupancy is a lot more complicated than a B occupancy. Like a B occupancy, like, you know, Hammer's office space over there, or, you know, that's very simple, and where an A is, you know, very complicated. So like, this kind of accounts for the use and occupancy and the construction type, the square footage.
This does.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what we really need to look at is, I mean, the missing factor is how much, if you use this model, how much do you expect permittees to pay for the fees associated with building in the city?
I've got a bunch of stuff missing here on this. Did it not print off right, or did something?
No, this page here.
No, on the front page of here, when it's
Oh, yeah.
about putting the multipliers and calculating everything, I've got a bunch of blanks here.
Oh, yeah,
I've got a different one.
It's hard for me to follow.
Oh, right here. I see where you're talking.
yeah.
It's on page 1 on
Yeah.
the
So I
right-hand
took
column.
that off of the jurisdiction that took 4 pages down to 2. I've got a different copy here that's got, this is one off the ICC. I think that was abbreviated.
See this here, this is what I'm talking about. Yeah, you've got,
Yeah, looks like a sticky note was on it.
it does. Looks like when I try to hide something. With a sticky note, yeah. And then make a copy of it.
Is the term multiplier, is that a whole number, half of a number, 2 numbers, 4 numbers?
It's a percentage. So
A percentage, okay.
100% multiplier means you want to recover 100% of the expenses that the department has.
Okay,
80% would be, which lowers
80
your
per-
fee,
okay, yeah.
But you're only recovering 80% of the revenue that you're spending at 80%, but it lowers the fee.
okay, so it's, what I'm thinking about the conversation, I'm thinking, well, maybe we just need to say the multiplier's a 2. That doesn't work, right?
No, you'd have to put in.
Is this the multiplier right here?
Yeah, that's the multiplier there.
It's a small number.
Okay, okay.
And that's the actual formula there.
That's the formula. There's
Yeah.
the calculation out to the
And see,
right.
then when I multiplied the .00464 times 300,000, that's when you get a $3,880 permit fee for a single-family residential. And, you know,
So we gotta
Sure,
conjure up a
somebody wants
number
money.
like that for everything?
No, you're going to set it, and that's what it would be, that we want to get 100% of our fees. Or we can say, well, let's start off at 75%,
I did the 100%.
you know,
Once the multiplier's figured out, then all there is to really plug in is just information about the proposed buildings themselves.
classification.
All this stuff.
Classification, square footage,
Okay.
yeah.
But
And then
we can
each
have-
year, you could put your new budget in.
Yes, you
That
could
would-
say, we want it based on your budget
Current
of so
budget,
much
yeah.
percent engineering, so much percent planning, and then like 100% of the building inspector and whatever.
Okay,
But this percentage amount allows you to be either more on the conservative side or ramped up to cover 100% based on what everybody's view is.
so that multiplier is good for all this stuff.
It can be,
It can be.
Can be.
if that's what you want to do.
Yeah,
Have you come up with a multiplier that you're going to recommend us?
I think it's probably
Is that it?
0.095391.
Well,
Now, the other thing that changes year to year, which, for instance, I know that, we've got a big apartment complex that's coming in.
yeah,
So we're going to recover probably more
Yep.
than our amount. But guess what? There's going to be years that we're going to fall way below that and we're not going to recover. So it should average itself out over the years. So some years we're going to make out like gangbusters. Other years we're going to be lucky to receive funding in.
yeah.
It all depends on what's going on in your community. So you're going to have good years, you're going to have bad years. It's not a full, but it also, though, keeps in consideration what's happening in your community by what's being built.
Okay.
Like, we had very little new single-family construction last year, 25. Yeah. But,
You still had $16 million somewhere.
Well,
But it was-
Hendricks County was a big one, Hendricks County helped.
That's true.
That was a big one.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
probably our largest project.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, you can leave the multiplier, you can set this, but then every August and February, they publish the average cost of construction for those structures. And that's what makes it self-adjusting.
Self-correcting,
yeah.
It's going to be a very small amount. I mean, it
Yeah.
depends. It could be just very small, but you never have to touch it again if you get close to your multiplier.
But then that's still broken down by category, so we can have different multipliers for different categories of construction.
That's my question, yeah. Can we have a multiplier for residential and can we have a multiplier for commercial?
yes, you can. And we can probably split out how much we recover in each one of those, right, internally?
That's not a problem.
But I'm just going to tell you, our residential will be remodeled, so it's going to be not a big number. And we want to recover that much, and then the commercial, we're going to recover the other amount.
I think it'd be helpful to know, what it would cost to build a $300,000 home, because we will have some we hope, new residential
Get that on the
construction.
calculator.
So, I mean, we could guesstimate like, okay, a $300,000 house
Today?
is
and what it would be.
probably high 2,000 plus square feet. That seems appropriate.
Well,
Oh, it won't be
they're-
2,800 square feet.
Grayble's building them out in Woods Edge,
They're about
like in the
1,700, yeah.
range, and they're in the $350,000 to $400,000
Okay, so we can
price
say,
point.
Yeah.
So
we could say just like 2,000.
figure out
for
what
example.
Okay, 2,000 square foot home.
Current construction cost.
Two-story,
So at
Decent residential
50%,
house like 240.
right, so 50% percentage captured, 2,000 square foot home. They're 2,300.
Yeah, but we would base it on the multiplier. So we would go back and say.
he was,
how-
because he
no,
took it to 50%.
No.
No,
What we would do is we would take the total annual construction value in '25, what that was in new homes or, yeah, he's got to go, and remodels. So it wouldn't be 16 million, it might only be 5 million
Okay,
that we would recover off that.
Okay.
So, if we wanted to do 100% of that. Now, it would probably raise the rate. So if we said that for that, put in 100%. Because remember, we have very little.
Right. So yeah, 100% for, let's say it was $5 million for 25. So we've got our new multiplier, 2,000 square feet.
That went up.
It went up.
big time.
Now, we'd have to
I don't think we
decide
can
how much,
stomach that.
how much, but the other part we'd have to change also, if we wanted to think about this,
Well-
is how much of that is spent on new home.
Yeah, we're trying to cover the
So-
entire 216
Right, we
budget.
wouldn't do that,
with
so
new
we
home
would say,
construction.
we would say 50% of Pat time, so cut that in half, so 50% of the budget, we could figure this out. And we might take that and put in 106,000. So we say it's gonna be spent on,
Should make that about half of what it was before.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what it was, but it was like 13 or 15,000.
So, what I'm saying is, you really need, it might make sense in your minds that it would go this way, but really what we really hope is you really need that bigger thing going on to spread out the cost of this. So you need all of it. So where it's either, I think it makes sense to do all or nothing. So we either do 75% of we recover 75% of the cost, knowing that we're going to have a lot of things coming down the pike that's going to bring in plenty of number to cover it. We know we got big projects coming.
So hypothetically, just using random numbers, could we set commercial at 125% and residential at 50%, and then
We could.
expect to cover
That's what I was thinking.
75%?
We
Take the
could.
216 and just
I just-
put
Yes.
100% in. and-
If you could figure out how to get your 213,000 or whatever the total cost is, and then structure your rates, weight your rates,
It'd be nice to see the model, or a model.
yeah, you'd have to build it. And I think it's, if you narrow your categories down instead of having 17 or 18, but of course, you're going to get most of this stuff over time. You know, you're going to get a pole barn, you know, you're going to get a fence, you're going to get an indoor or an in-ground pool. You get some of
Well,
that.
that doesn't count that's flat fees.
But, you know, some of those things that, like a pool, that you really shouldn't have to go out too many times, you could maybe even have a flat fee for some of this.
Those are flat fees.
I mean, going forward.
The pools are flat fees
Going forward?
going forward. The only thing this is like buildings.
This is for
Like
new construction.
factories, storage, residential, stuff downtown, add-ons, no.
Okay, so only-
All this other stuff, pool and all that, demolition, all that's flat fees.
Only down to line 30 is where we're looking at doing it on a multiplier basis.
Okay, so like what we're looking at here on this 3 pages, the building fee static option number 2, is that correct?
I don't know what he's done for,
Yeah, so that's just an additional option. If it's easier and it makes more sense, we can break this out however we want. We could do a hybrid model, we could do a static model. This is just to account for, okay, maybe we don't want the BVD. This is an alternative where we increase but don't adopt a BVD model. Or we could do a hybrid where we use only commercial and then residential is flat. But the point is to make it comprehensive, so, you know, the information's out there on potential avenues we could take. But really, it's up to, you know, what's everybody think is appropriate. I think it's a lot easier to quantify on the residential side, okay, what's reasonable for a fee to build a house? Because there's only so many certain, you know, inspections to be had. On the commercial side, there's countless inspections. So that's why the BVD formula makes so much more sense, because it's hard to quantify how much it's going to cost us internally, you know, what benefit it adds, and that sort of thing. So,
But we're not getting paid per inspection now.
nope.
But here here on the single family or a duplex, you're $500 plus $100 per inspection
No,
and
that's-
15 cents over 1,200 square feet.
no.
On option 2?
That is, where it says electrical repair upgrades, temporary electric, that is if you're coming in to get an electrical permit only, you're going to pay $100, and then if he goes out the first time, so you'll charge $150 first time, but if he has to keep going out because they're not doing it right, then it's $50 per inspection.
I think he might be looking at option 2.
I am looking at
Oh.
option 2.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, this is option one.
No, Councilor Hammer
Option
was
2.
I was
talking about
looking at
option 2.
paper.
Okay, let's see. Static, option 2.
That's fine if I didn't realize it was up to here too. Okay, that was, got forwarded to.
We on the right one? Yeah, right there.
That's what I was looking at.
So even with using the BVD, if we go down the logic of other types of permits, and, you know, we have it broken out to several different ones, like the planning fees don't really make sense to use the BVD model because it doesn't have planning development projects in mind for that. So just based on that fact, it's just impossible to fit that into the formula.
And in each one of these, you're building in a 1% increase annually.
As an option.
Okay.
That's just leaning conservative, so, you know, standard inflation rate of 2% historically, you know, we knock it down to 1%, and that way it's not, you know, a huge contrast to what reality is if it's delayed 10 years to update fees.
For a while, I could.
And we could always address that if it gets too far out of line, we can just change the ordinance, right?
No, your planning fees are what you're proposing, or that's what it is now?
This is proposed,
Okay.
so it wouldn't be until the end here, I think, that maybe, maybe not. Yeah, these are proposed.
And some of those we don't have currently, correct?
That's correct.
So planned unit development, preliminary plan is $600, plus an additional cost of $20 per wall.
So is development standards variance for residential, $150. What is it currently?
$60.
Okay.
And it's quite a bit of paperwork to do that sort of thing.
Would it be possible at some point before we vote to have access to a spreadsheet using the formula that would allow us to change the residential and commercial and then see it side by side with our surrounding cities? And then we can all do our own work
Have
and
it all there in front of us. Yeah.
maybe even if it's not every single fee, if that's too much work, at least the major
No,
fees.
that's the beauty of this, is I could send a copy to everyone, and they could sit here and play with, you know, the percentages, do examples on your own, because we have drop-down menus embedded into this.
Yeah.
Where instead of a commercial addition, do commercial structure, change your square footage, change the construction classification.
As you have those here,
Right.
on this.
Yeah.
Now, granted, on construction classification and occupancy group, Pat is the expert in those sorts of things, so I would just recommend on those items, researching what each are, because, you have your stick-built structures that are like little sheds versus highly complex steel beam, sprinkle, fire-rated, that sort of thing, that are vastly different.
I don't think we have very many heavy timber in the city. And,
Not many nightclubs either.
yeah, right now, we don't have, so you can probably work through some of those. I would say we don't have very many of the heavy timber construction tops by fire resistant. And then, you could set out and figure out, what it would cost to put a new hospital in, or new nursing home, or,
Or to remodel said hospital or nursing
Right.
home or whatever.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because we do have a lot of aging buildings that, we could anticipate are needing work.
Right.
Yeah, I'd say if, and maybe it's already in there, but basically just having this first page, but being editable for residential and
Which page are you looking
commercial.
at?
Option one, the top page of option one, I think it'd be nice to see exactly how it's laid out. Instead of saying ICC BVD formula calculation, have it populate there.
Okay.
And then the columns next to it have Danville, Hendricks County, Putnam County, like that. Then we can look at something tangible.
Are you concerned about the commercial side of it? Or does everybody feel pretty comfortable with 100%, the figures for commercial, that,
My
I think I
only,
am.
my only concern,
Yes, but residential.
my only concern for commercial would be daycare facilities. I think doing anything we can to incentivize more childcare would be nice. But other than that,
Well, that might not even fall under commercial.
fair, yeah, I guess.
yeah,
that's
it may
fair.
not, it
True.
may not.
Yeah. Wherever it falls.
Yeah.
If it could be
That'd
lower
be
multiplier.
educational.
Small scale.
Yeah.
And we could even add rows that are very specific, where we exclude based on that specific type of property. Add those, make it a flat fee, potentially, or, you know, whatever. There's lots of flexibility here. So based on local economics, if there's something that we have a dire need for and we're worried about hampering development, there's absolutely a means to change that.
On this, page 2 of this one, the matrix, the educational is, all lines on the educational are less than the business. By about 10%,
Yeah.
almost
I'd like to
10%.
throw as much of it off onto the.
5%.
Institutional as you could. And so that's pretty.
I like the one VB high hazard. Do we have any explosives?
Let's hope not.
Let's make sure that rate's covering everything.
Okay, say I'm Toyota, and I come in and I'm gonna replace equipment for $5 million. And of course, I'm gonna get it abated. Is there a building, a permit fee to that?
So typically, the way we've handled changes within a commercial building, like, I'll give you an example. Heartland had to do a paint sprayer booth. I think they added an additional one. We just treated it as an addition or alteration, basically. So it's a remodel.
Or what if they're just changing out a line and changing equipment?
If they're just, it's minimal items,
If they need electrical, they'll come in and get an electrical
Yeah.
permit. If they need to add water, they'd get a plumbing permit.
some very minute repairs wouldn't even fall under our purview, and they would be exempt from a permit.
Well, like Linda said, they might have to get an electrical permit or a plumbing
Yeah,
permit.
maybe.
That'd be it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
What do you need from us?
Well,
Some
eventually you're going to have to approve this. I guess our question is,
Is the multiplier a take this or that, or
So-
whatever kind of discussion?
kind of what I'm hearing is, the BVD formula seems to be okay with commercial, that we could, but we need to do a little work on the residential. Is what I'm taking away from that. So I think what would make a lot of sense, because we want to kind of get this going, because we've got stuff that's coming down the pike,
Yep.
is that we could not so much focus on the commercial part by, you know, what you're planning in Danville or this, but actually take a really deep dive into the residential
Residential, okay.
and come up with
Could we
those.
come up with commercial, changes to commercial and do those first and then come back and do the residential later?
I think you all can do whatever you want to do
Well, I
here.
think the residential really is not that difficult.
Okay.
Because, you know, there should be some gradation, because you go out and build a 7,500 square foot house or something. Well, that's whole different from a 1,700 square foot. We don't get too many of those. Well, that isn't to say you don't.
Right.
I mean, you know, we had a former counselor who built a really nice house in town, and, you know, that's not typical of that neighborhood.
So we,
It happens on occasion, but rarely.
Well, the other thing that I think that it's going to add a twist to this is, and I haven't followed it as closely as I should, but there's going to be, is anybody familiar with the new legislation that's coming out for
1001?
the of the home, that may put a lot more pressure on us to get things reviewed quicker and this and that, to where if we have to start adding staff, somebody's going to have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And it's, because we're not going to have the funding to do that. So I think that's a lot to it, to get things reviewed quicker through the process, and you're going to have timelines you got to meet to get your inspections done. It's going to put a lot of pressure that we may have to add staffing. So, you know, I know it's to make it cheaper on the home builder, but it's going to put the responsibility back on the city to make sure it gets done in a timely
That
manner.
has to be dealt with through user fees
So,
somehow. or
if
another.
Yeah,
you
that's what I'm
just-
saying.
If you simplify this completely across commercial and residential, permit
Please.
fees, permit fees and inspections, if they are sub 1% of a total project cost, that typically would allow for profitability and it to be reasonable, so it doesn't squash development
And I think most of these figure out to be about 1%
or less.
or less.
Using the multiplier,
Yeah.
or all those matrix of all those numbers we saw
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
and at 100%.
at 100%.
And I think it's, well, really, an easy comparison is the regional analysis. All of the cities and towns that were listed, they are basically at that or less of 1%.
So that's our goal, would be if we could be at 1% or under 1% on a usual project.
I'm not an economist, so everybody has their own opinion maybe on what that number specifically should be. But from what I've read, you know, because there's conflicting information. What does the jurisdiction need and want? What does the community need and want? And what does the builder need and want? And profitability is part of that conversation. So I think figuring out what trends are nationally, regionally, and especially what other jurisdictions are doing and are functioning based on that, will give us a pretty good idea of what's appropriate.
You're saying if somebody's building a $350,000 house, and we came in with a $3,000, roughly a $3,000
Put our numbers
permit
back
fee,
where they need to be. The 213.
then we would be about where we would want to be, or should be, and still be reasonable.
Well, if the county's getting 400 bucks,
231.72.
that throws us kind of
Well-
out of the ballpark.
But are they getting more than that? Is it just 400 for,
100%.
or are they tacking on other
I
inspection
thought I
fees?
saw- There may be
I've got these things so messed up.
And then,
primary.
Maybe not. Putnam County, here we go.
let's see, maybe, I got my sheets messed up here.
Oh, I lost that sheet. 16,460, 799.
Putnam County for.
Yeah, primary accessory dwelling, 400.
460,000.
If you're over 1,000 square feet, it's another 20 cents per square foot. If you have primary and accessory and you have 5 inspections, it's only $300, or is that an additional 5 inspections? If you have a basement, you're adding $40, and your certificate of occupancy is another 20.
Put 1,700 square foot in that. I'm just
Okay.
with the single family there. Put about $1,700.
Are you back to the, yeah, we got to
I'm just
213.
Is that the right?
So we're at $4,000 for 1,700 square foot.
I didn't think it was that high earlier.
He switched the permit type.
Oh, residential 1 and 2 family, R3.
Oh, yeah, it was a new addition earlier.
Yeah, I know this. I was just saying, 1,700 square foot, it's probably going to be 300 and some thousand. I was going to see if we were about 1%. Put in 80% up there for the residential. Yeah, I'd get you there. If we asked for 80% of the fees for residential, I bet we'd hit 1% about most of the time. Because I'm sure that's a 1,700 square feet, it's about a 300 and some
We
thousand.
have to change this, and we have to change that, too.
What's R3? So residential
1 and 2 family.
is an R.
So this, one point I want to make is this has a compounding effect on development. how our local economics works with growth. Let's say we have a fantastic year in, 27.
No, one, the other zero. There you go.
So we have a great year in 27, because we're only capturing 80%, no more, no less. So we're not getting excess necessarily. So whatever captures 100%, if we're doing great, that number goes lower and lower and lower.
So it kind of takes out, if we had really good years and we captured more money than the following year, we would put the total annual for the previous year, and we would, if we did really well, that's the year to build a house, your permit fees are going to be
Maybe
lower.
what we should do is, instead of putting in last year's number for 25.
Do an average.
Do an average of the last 5 years,
Which we could do that.
Well,
with some inflationary adjustments.
the problem that you have is the last 5 years have been pretty wacky.
It's pretty what?
Pretty wacky.
Yeah.
Pretty dislocated, in other words, It hasn't been a typical 5 years, because you go to COVID, you go to almost zero interest rates, and then higher interest rates, and, the whole milieu with residential particularly has not been anything like historical last 5 years. I'm thinking the same thing, it'd be great, but you'd almost have to take 2010 to 19 or something.
I was going to say, do we do 10 years?
And then you
do
can
a-
get your tables out and adjust for inflation.
Adjustment for
But
On the flip side, though, the last 5 years is the new normal, even if it
That's
doesn't,
what it is.
even if it doesn't feel normal.
that's what it is.
I mean, it is the last 5 years.
It's hard to say, and you can base it off that. You can, the farther back you go, the less accurate you're going to be.
I do think it makes sense, though, to tie that number to something else, so we're not just chasing last year, even if it's just an estimate versus an average. I think that's where we're running into a lot of our issues when we're running this calculation right now, is we're trying to make sure we paid for last year's growth.
And then we
When
end
we're-
up doing
we-
twice as much this year.
Yeah,
So it would be stepping a bit out of line with what the ICC has, because, since they created this, but I think it's a good point that it doesn't necessarily account for what you want, it's based on past history.
Yeah.
So I think a reasonable modification of the formula would be, what would we want to project for growth for 27, 28, or whatever?
Well, we know what's coming down the pike as far as commercially. And then we could guesstimate how many houses, we kind of know what's coming down the pike to some extent. We know that we've got apartments that are going in and what that value is going to be. We know that there's another project that's going to go in, and I don't know what that value is, but I can find out what that value is and plug those numbers in, and then we could guesstimate what we think the housing's going to be.
Well, are we going to get?
over that.
A line is putting, 90 houses in down south side?
Well, that's what, 78 or whatever it is.
Okay,
So
but that's not
we
all
could-
in one
we
year,
could-
probably.
Yeah, over a certain amount of time.
Hendricks County would be in 2 months.
Right, but,
That's-
we
that's
could,
in the township.
and then we can
That's why I wondered, is it-
guesstimate, based on what we could probably do a 3 or 4 or 5 year estimate on remodel,
Okay.
because that seems to be consistent.
Another method would be, it sounds a little convoluted, but look at the end fee, make a regional comparison on what everyone else has. Whatever formula matches closely with what
What
other
that
jurisdictions
is.
have and is tied to the formula would probably be within reason, pretty close to what where we should.
Outcome based.
That's as pretty as it could be.
So, do you know how many single-family permits were issued in 25?
For new construction? I think it was that.
Oh, here locally?
Yeah, I think it was 0.
We had a couple.
No, I don't know that we had one, did we?
Well, they
I
built
think
a
they were
house
issued
on
20,
Shadow.
yeah, but I think it was issued in 24.
We had one on Howard Street.
Oh, no, we haven't had many. 2, maybe?
Yeah, there's a handful. There's a handful.
I don't know, I sat and read the report in your packet, in the board packet, and I could have swore it said the new permits were 0 up to a certain point.
Yeah, they could have applied for that permit late 24.
That's what I'm saying. I think it was 24 that they were
The
in.
timing issue on those. Well,
Right.
if you just kind of guesstimated or extrapolated, you know, and put a relatively low number on new construction, single-family residential, and weighted it all towards the commercial, industrial, institutional, I can play with those numbers. But ultimately, you know, the goal should be to try to make user fees pay as they go and get this whole 219.
213 paid.
And start working on engineering fees.
What's your timeline, ideally?
We need to get this going because we got stuff coming, and I
Does
would.
that have to be done by ordinance?
Yeah, is it like a two?
Yeah, and I don't know if we have to, I imagine
Public
it,
hearing?
we'll have to have a public hearing, I'm assuming, and I'm assuming we have to send it all out like we do water rates.
We have some big projects that I think are going to reach that stage within.
2 months, 2 or 3 months. Yeah, we need to get them going. Or we're going to lose out on, we'll have to do them in our old thing. So that's why I'm saying, if the commercial one, if we wanted to get it going, at the rates we're going here, at 100%, you know.
That's why I was asking if we should do it piecemeal.
Yeah, I mean,
commercial done.
and then, and we can work through some of the, I mean, we got some other stuff here. If, I know you probably just got this today. If you could go review it, if we want, we could have another workshop after we come up with, but if we,
Needs to be relatively soon.
yes, we need to get the commercial even on the agenda probably this coming
The
meeting.
public hearing would be before we had ordinance reading.
Or we have a second reading.
Between 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I would argue that stormwater might be important because our ordinance doesn't establish a fee, it just refers to a fee schedule.
Yes, and we need to address those, because
Schedule that we don't have.
these are what we don't have that was supposed to be created. And it was kicked down the can down the road. So we've got what we're collecting off of our, but these are when people need to come in and get that. And if they are violating that.
This is important, so we have a few laid out for violations. If we have illicit discharges, let's say, for example, someone is discharging transmission fluid into our stormwater, it would follow this.
Right now, we don't have anything for them.
Not
No.
from that side now.
Not from that. We got engineering, planning, review fees. That probably needs to be a little higher there, Blaine.
Yeah, it'll have to be higher than 100.
That's for reviews over 2 hours, so if it's under 2 hours, they wouldn't charge them anything?
No, we would do it.
That needs to go away.
And maybe it does need to go, that, what'd you put, 100,
Oh, was it 195?
195?
And would that just be for, not 1995? That's okay.
Tiny.
Well, the stormwater fee schedule.
There you go.
No brainer.
That's all right, 199 an hour
I'm
is
getting
fine.
there.
I think the county's methodology on single family is good.
So the county, this is more current. They had a different set of fees prior to this that were fairly recent, but they had to decrease them. They were just simply too much, apparently.
That's interesting.
I don't know the full history on that, but I do know they actually had a reduction.
And what's here is the reduced amount.
I believe so.
Because if you build a 1,700 square foot house, you know, you'd have $400 and then another $140 for the
$40, so it'd be
overage,
$540.
the inspection, so, you know, you'd be ending up, you know, right around $1,000 for a 1,700 square foot, $350,000 house. I don't think that's bad.
No.
$4,000, I think is bad.
I would agree. I mean, we could work that up and put that in and do our and take out some of the, well, or just have it collected, all the money on that, and then have something that covers the other.
I mean, it's pretty.
Let's
obvious.
put that together,
Big ones.
Blaine, and we'll do the Putnam County fees for, at least they can't say we're more expensive, or they're more expensive than we are. I mean, that's what it costs to build a house in Putnam County. Our above-ground swimming pool, I'll bet that's a tad bit cheaper, because we're trying to get people to, in-ground pool, indoor swim, hot tub.
They're 210 for above ground.
Yeah, we're at like 150, then 200
$1
for
cheaper.
thing. In-ground pool, roofs. Now, we don't have a roof inspection. I actually had somebody in talking to me about that, would not be a bad thing, even if it was $75, because some of these roofers come in and they're saying they're going to replace the decking and they end up not. So a lot of people right now with roofers are kind of getting taken advantage of.
I was
But-
taken advantage of with my roof and my house, so I would definitely support
One subdivision.
a roof inspection.
So I know Danville charges for a roof, I can't remember if it was like.
$75.
Yeah, $75, yeah, but the inspector would go out, make sure the decking is good. They would call out for an inspection once the shingles are off.
Before the,
Before the shingles
Paper
go
goes
back
down.
on,
Yep.
yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, the way that they work, you'd have to be on top.
Yeah, a lot of
yes, you
roofers
would.
doing, yeah.
Well, the problem is that they got those crews and they're on the
Yeah.
backside doing,
17 people.
The other
One
thing that they
side,
said,
yeah.
the other thing that they said is they will, the Danville told me that they would accept a photo, so if you have it all off, as long as the crew then took a picture of it, mailed it, and was proof that it was that roof, because they had to walk the roof with them on a video and send it to the inspector, then it could be approved via,
and you'd be able to tell on there that it was OSB and how thick it was and everything else.
yeah, the house.
Sure, that's the right roof.
Yeah, well, that's true, but,
That roof looks a lot like the one you sent us last week.
right, exactly, but,
We may have a big one. If you've been to the Y lately, they had buckets out the other day on the track.
They didn't have anything in
It's
them.
gotta
though.
be it.
Yeah, I saw, was there early. and
Well,
there was
it's still under
water. I
water,
think they
that's
had
good.
emptied and cleaned them
Okay.
up.
but I'm just saying, I think there are times you get taken advantage of on your roof, so,
It's one of the worst for the trades. It really is.
yeah,
It's been one of the worst.
so.
Fly by night, guys.
I don't know, it's
Subdivision
it's
north
just
of me's
something,
getting
it's just
29
something,
new
you guys
roads.
set the feeds, so if you want a
Get that
roof
thing passed.
inspection, we can adopt that,
The duplex
you
is
know,
north of you.
I think it's perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
and tell us what amount you want it to be.
29
Yeah, they got 3-tab shingles on them. I bet
Yeah.
that's probably.
But if we
that's
keep
probably
those
not
kinds of
nice.
mundane and
Hailstorm.
things, or, what the county is, nobody can really complain.
I would agree.
And then when it comes to the stuff the county doesn't get, that's what we can try to recover.
Right.
Some of our
Something more real world.
Can you take this home, look at the planning fees, the stormwater fees, the fire, this is a new one for us, fire inspection fees. We do spend a lot on those. I think we're setting up an annual, but sometimes we have these folks that will not do their second, they just will not. If we have to go out there second and third times for reinspection to get them in compliance, we need to start charging. And then a fee for when you start a new business. Is that on here?
Like
Oh.
a change of use.
No, when you are starting a new business to open, you needed to have a fire fee to come and make sure you have your, so whenever I've opened businesses in other communities, and so you have to have the fire inspector come out, and they have to make sure you do have extinguishers when you open, and that you have the things you need to
Just
open.
kind of giving you a final.
I think I have one in here. We talked about, so occupancy permit including change of tenancy, so you have.
$25 fee?
Yeah, so that's
Okay.
basically what it is, for them to just come in and look.
Yeah, make sure you have your, because a lot of times,
Yeah, that's,
you don't get caught until after John's been out there after the first fee or whatever.
I think those.
9 months later. So that is new. Then we have,
We do have violations, which I think are important for some very specific circumstances. So, basically not being prepared for a permit, or not having a permit, not being prepared for an inspection. So some of the large builders, like in Danville, for example, D.R. Horton or Lenore Homes or whomever, some of the bigger ones, constantly would not be prepared for an inspection. They would say, yeah, come on over, and then they fail the inspection. Over time, that just completely drains the system, where having something like this in place as a consequence, hopefully over time, makes it to where that's not an issue.
That's where you get your reinspection fees?
Yeah.
Okay.
so those are some of the new ones, if you could take a look at. If you have any questions, concerns, or don't like any of them, can you just read?
This is going to be on our agenda next Thursday.
Building re.
Can we, are you ready to see the construction? I guess
Yeah.
the commercial
Screen.
on the agenda, is everybody ready for that? And then, if you will look over the planning fees, the fire inspection, and stormwater, if you do not have any problems, we could maybe get those on the agenda. If you do have problems, please reach out to Lorraine ASAP. Because what are we, 2 weeks, next week, next Thursday, we meet again?
A week and a half.
Is everybody good with that?
What are the consequences if we approve commercial and realize we needed to go higher to get residential where we want? Can we just change those again at some
Redo
point? Okay.
Or we'll have first reading, then maybe we can get the residential together. We could specifically get the information to you in one thing on the residential based on the county. We can probably make that into a formula too, pretty easily.
Makes your head hurt, doesn't it?
It does. Well, they've been working on this for a long time, and you
Yeah.
can see why it's taken so long.
Yes.
Because we've had very much of these hours of discussion. So we've done it, we've gone back, we started, we went back to the drawing board, we started again, we went back to the drawing, I mean, we've had a lot of talk about what are fair and reasonable, and finally it's like, okay, it's time to take it, let's
Yeah, I think it's
get somebody's
time to
opinions.
bring it to us and put it in
And-
our, and get our heads wrapped around it.
Yeah,
And start
so
to look at from
that's
different
why we're having a
perspectives.
workshop, so,
Thank you for doing this.
so, I know.
It's a lot to process.
It is, it's a lot. We hope to have it last year, we hope to have it in '24, but it's just, you can see where you sat and you're going, So,
Yeah.
but,
I mean, if you don't bring it to us, then it's just going to sit there and be a proposal.
Right, and that is the hardest-
You know, it's like he said, he met with Bill Dory about it, and.
yeah, I mean, it's
never
gone
came to us.
for, and in fact, I sat through a lot of meetings through that period of time.
As the clerk
And
treasurer.
it's just, and that's why these rate things are so hard, because there's a lot to them, there's a lot, you don't want to raise the rates, you don't want to do this, but at some point, you're just like, I got to do it.
Well, we could bring in some professional and everything else and pay them $100,000.
Yeah, rate reviews are like $40,000-$50,000 when,
Okay, well, maybe not 100, but
well.
tens of
I
thousands
mean,
of dollars and
Yeah.
just throw money out, you know, put it in the toilet and flush it.
Yeah, so we've got the ability to do it.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it a lot until it's like, okay, we got to just rip the Band-Aid off and go. So that's what we're doing.
Thank you.
And it doesn't, in most cases, if you think about it, it does not affect everybody all the time. It's when
No.
you get ready to remodel, when you've got to do, and I guess the roof things, it's another something that somebody has to do, but I think people are getting taken advantage on their roofs.
And a new roof, I mean, you're at $15,000-$20,000 now. a lot.
Oh, more than that.
So $100.
I had 36,000 in
Spit
the,
in the ocean.
with, Yeah, mine was
And to
36,000
think
last
that
year.
you just got ripped off because they didn't put the new decking on they were supposed to put on because they decided who's going to ever know? Because nobody comes
Covered
out
up.
here and inspect it.
7 years getting my downspouts extended like they were supposed to. Still haven't. That's a little gone.
So anyways, so I mean, if we want to add that to the residential part, be thinking about that.
Yeah, I would support that.
So anyways, okay. I need a motion. Okay, second?
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you
Yes,
for
thank you,
coming in.
everyone.